Finding a blanket, opening it up to about this size, and then folding it in threes. We'll be resting the belly on the blanket and we'll be prone, belly down for a few moments. So you may find this is actually a little bit too much. So if that's the case, if you think that will be the case, you can just fold it in half. If you've been doing a practice like this for some time, then I think you'll find folding it in thirds will be efficacious. So coming onto all fours, lining your belly up over that blanket, maybe walking the knees back a little, coming down onto the forearms, just very gently lowering yourself down, finding your way onto the blanket. Feel that your hip points are right beneath the blanket and that your solar plexus, well, actually it's not your solar plexus, it's above your solar plexus. So, but where the lowest ribs meet, the lower ribs go down really low, but then when they meet, they kind of swing up. So you want that over the blanket if possible. And before you lower down all the way in a Sphinx pose, just kind of wiggle your hips from side to side. Make sure this is going to work for you. And then let the elbows come out, stack one hand on top of the other, and rest your cheek on your hands. If it's comfortable for you, feel free to go ahead and bring the hands out and make space for your head and rest your head right onto the mat. And then once again, once your head is in stillness and completely supported, again, shift your hips from side to side. And allow your belly to really melt into the blanket. So you're actually getting a little bit of a neck opening here as well. Notice where the physical sensations are most dominant. Is it more in the belly? Maybe the chest resting onto the mat. Your temple on the mat or the neck opening. A little bit of traction. And see how much you can just relax into these physical sensations, even if they're not entirely pleasant. Can you find a way to soften here? And at any point, feel free again to shift your hips from side to side. And bring your awareness back to your breath. And begin to engage with your ocean breath. Contracting the glottis at the base of the throat to draw the breath in through the nose, down through the throat, into the lungs. So this will take a little more abdominal effort than usual because of the pressure of both your chest and your belly on the mat and the blanket. Filling up with breath, and then on the exhale, feel how that pressure really helps you to empty out completely. Again, releasing the breath out from the base of the throat and through the nose, if possible. Focus a little bit more on the exhalation. Empty out the breath. And just a few more breaths here, but in these last few cycles of breath, begin to establish even inhale, even exhale. So go with whatever's happening naturally in the inhale. Say the inhale's 4, then let the exhale be 4. Or if it's 5, lengthen out the exhale, elongate it so it's also 5. And once you have that established, at the top of the inhale, pause for just at least 1 count, but on the exhale, pause for 2 counts. If you're pausing for 2 counts at the top of the inhale, pause at the bottom of the exhale for 3 counts. 2 more cycles of breath, really establishing this Viloma Pranayama, the even breath. So go with whatever's happening naturally in the inhale. Say the inhale's 4, then let the exhale be 4. Or if it's 5, lengthen out the exhale, elongate it so it's also 5. And once you have that established, at the top of the inhale, pause for just at least 1 count, but on the exhale, pause for 2 counts. If you're pausing for 2 counts at the top of the inhale, pause at the bottom of the exhale for 3 counts. 2 more cycles of breath, really establishing this Viloma Pranayama, the even breath. And then gently lift your head up. Notice the physical sensations here. Stack the other hand on top if you are using the hands for a pillow. And in any case, turn your head very gently and rest on the other side. Continue now with both the ocean breath and Viloma Pranayama. Even inhale, even exhale. Slightly longer pause at the bottom of the exhalation. So it's easy here to be aware of the action of the belly and maybe a little bit of the chest, but as you continue to practice Viloma Pranayama in this restorative posture, which may not feel quite as wonderfully restorative as some of our other restorative postures, make sure you're really bringing the breath into the back ribs. So circumferentially, really breathing in every dimension, 360 degrees. And then lifting up your head, coming back to Sphinx pose for a moment. And just very gently turn your very gently take your chin over to your right shoulder. And gently look up and back. Inhale here. And exhale back through center. And then the same thing, other side. Inhale. Very gently take your chin over to your left shoulder and look up and back. Pausing here at the top of the inhale for a moment. And then exhale. Coming back through center. And without collapsing, keeping the back of the neck long, see if you can start to bring the chin in a little more towards the chest. Don't bring it all the way in. And just see how much relaxation you can find here in this modified Sphinx pose. Breathing into that space at the back of your neck. Inhaling, feel your chest float forward and a little bit up. And exhale, release. Inhale, plant the hands, lift all the way up and back. Let your hips sink back towards the heels. You can leave this blanket here if that seems like it would be supportive to you, and come into a child's pose, Balasana, resting your forehead on the blanket. If that blanket does not seem supportive to you, feel free to move it and just rest your head on the mat. Continue to practice Viloma Pranayama, the even inhale, even exhale, and bring the breath circumferentially into the front ribs, the side ribs, the back ribs. See if you can bring the breath all the way down into the sacrum, and then empty out completely, pausing a little longer at the bottom of your exhalation. Maintaining the even inhale, pause, even exhale, pause. And notice that tension that you identified earlier, whether it was mental, physical, emotional, and of course, we explored the intersection or the interaction between those three. What's happened to that tension now? Has anything shifted or softened or melted? And if not, see if you can accept that without any judgment. Simply accepting what is true for you in this present moment. Nope, there hasn't been any shift at all. That's what's true for you right now. And inhale, rise up. And we'll take one more restorative posture before moving into some pranayama and meditation. So again, you will need to decide whether just folding the blanket in half or keeping it in the thirds, whatever is going to be most comfortable for you as we come into a very gentle back bend. Make sure that Your buns are fully on one side of the blanket. And then let your shoulder blades be over the top side of the blanket. So your armpits are a few inches above the top edge of the blanket. And your arms are reaching out in a nice wide V shape. Reestablishing ocean breath, in case you did let go of it for a second or a moment. And then reestablishing Viloma Pranayama, the even inhale, even exhale. And then find what you want for your legs. Perhaps you're ready for some Shavasana legs. Or maybe it feels good to cross your legs, one ankle in front of the other. Or perhaps Baddha Konasana legs, soles of the feet together. Experiment and find which option is best for you. And once you've arrived into the choice that you've made for yourself, now feeling the back ribs resting into the blanket. So a lot of physical sensation there. But continue to breathe circumferentially, 360 degrees of dimension to your breath. Pulling it all the way down into the belly, filling up the ribs and the chest, pausing, releasing. Let the chest fall first, then the ribs slide in. Bottom of the exhale, draw the navel to the spine. And pause for just one count longer at the bottom of the exhalation. Then the pause at the top of the inhale. If you are in a cross-legged like I am, place the other ankle in front. So that's your signal that we're about halfway through here. And notice the difference from having the blanket under the back of the ribs rather than under the front of the ribs, and from resting on your back versus resting on your belly. I am finding so much more freedom of breath with the blanket underneath my ribs and resting on my back. The blanket underneath the back of the ribs as I rest on my back. This is one of the principles of yoga, that sometimes first we create some conscious tension, helping us to connect with our tension. And then from there we can move into greater ease than we might have otherwise, had we not first worked with the tension. We might not have found as much relaxation. And as you're ready, prepare to come out of the posture. If your legs were stretched out in Shavasana, fold the knees. If you are in Swastikasana or Baddha Konasana, fold the knees, plant the feet, so your knees are to the sky, feet are on the mat. Pausing here for a moment. When we're working with restorative yoga, we want to really take our time, allowing whatever the benefits or effects of the posture were to be fully integrated before moving on. And then rolling over to one side. And it's often at that point that I realize that a lot happened in my restorative posture. I felt a lot of physical sensation through the rib cage as I came up out of the posture. So again, there's the reason why we come out as slowly as possible.